everybody? Welcome to another edition of Friedman Adventures. It's great to be with you all. Do me a little favor and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We would really appreciate that. And that little bell notifications. I'll show up at your house every single time you hit that, and I'll bring you a new show. So great to be with you, and remind you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. All right, today we've got the youngsters on board with us, and we're going to find out a little bit more about some of the, thank you, Steve, I'm looking over at you. We're going to find out a little bit about how they got into fishing and where they're heading. First of all, Mark Pisano Jr. Mark, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
How's it going?
Good.
And Gary Woodrum sitting right next to me. Gary, how are you?
Good to be here, Phil.
And why we have Mike Morrison on, I haven't, oh no, you brought the coffee this morning. Thank you, Mike.
I'm just monitoring.
Yes. What are you going to do? Like make sure these guys don't get out of control?
They're very violent.
Yes, I know. All right, let's start, Mark. Let's start with you. I want to just ask you, what is it that drew you to sport fishing? Obviously, your father is a big influence on you, but what is it that you like so much about it? I mean, because I've talked to your dad before, and he has told me that he made it clear to all of his kids, hey, do what you want to do in life. And so you've chosen this as your profession. What is it that draws you to it?
Well, I definitely grew up in the industry. My dad brought me out on the independence from a young age. I think I was like 6 or 7. First trip I did was like a 3-day. And I had fished on the Monte Carlo local before that, but going out with him and seeing what he does is definitely had a giant impression on me growing up.
You're like, I want to do this, right?
Oh yeah, I knew from the beginning, like, this is what I wanted to do, and I want to get my license and run boats. I knew that from a very young age.
How old are you?
I am 22.
And you've got your license?
Yeah, I got my license when I was 19, so a few years.
And currently on board the Amigo, we know that because we fish with you guys a lot.
Yeah. This year, I think I'm going to start running the boat more, and pretty excited. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited too because, there's a lot about fishing with you that I enjoy, just focusing on you. But one thing is your demeanor is so calm. You're a very polite guy. It's really nice to be around you. And that's half the battle in this business.
Yeah. I definitely like to focus on not yelling at passengers and trying to make sure everybody has a good time and teach everybody.
Let's not point the finger at anybody here, okay? Let's not do that. But there are guys that yell at the passengers, right? They don't see their role so much as a teacher as they see it as, well, maybe a teacher, but the one that brings the wood paddle out and nails you. Like when I was going to grammar school and the nuns were running around. Some guys do yell at passengers, right?
Yeah, there's a few guys that kind of get emotional, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and part of that is also lack of sleep, little frustration. So sometimes I know you break, but some guys like make it a regular thing, and I don't see that on the Amigo or any of the boats around here. It's really great, the ambience on board.
Yeah, definitely got to try to teach everybody because some guys don't have really much experience when they come out and they're struggling. You want to make sure they have a good time and show them a few things, and so they come out next time, and over time they progress.
Teacher, that's the key, I think, right, Mike? I mean, being a teacher.
That's screaming and yelling. I mean, example, John Woodrum, for instance. If John's on the upper deck pointing and yelling and screaming at you, it's because the opportunity is here. Like,
right.
You spent hours
There's
trying to find these
there, right?
fish, and he's not, mad at you. He's just excited the fact that he wants you to do it to get you the fish, to grab the right bait, change your bait, guys. You'll hear it over and over and over and over again. John is an example just because he stands up top and watches, but you see him. We got Bruce on the Sport King. I mean, the guy's an animal. He's a freaking legend. I mean, you worked underneath him for a little bit there. I mean, talk about screaming, everything under the sun. I mean, he probably can elaborate on a story or two. I fished with the guy a bunch, but that had been a trip.
Bruce is a great guy. Yeah, I haven't seen him for a while, but he is a great guy. All right, good segue into right here next to me. Gary, first of all, Gary Woodrum. Gary, congratulations, man.
Thanks, man.
You're not even 19 years old, and you just took your captain's license. What happened?
I just basically wanted to do it because high school is still kind of fresh in my head. So just as soon as I can do it, that's when I chose to. I knew a week beforehand that I was going to the class, and I went for it.
Hey, Steve, do you have any balloons or any kind of streamers or anything?
Fireworks.
And what is this?
Yeah.
After this podcast, we need to go down on the docks and like shoot something like you pointing at the pursuit or something.
God.
And so, no, seriously, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you can't even get your captain's license right now because you're too young?
Yeah, because once I turn, I don't know why, but the law is when you're 19, you can get your actual captain's license, but you can take the class when you're 18. So yeah.
That's great. When I was a kid, I thought about getting my captain's license, and I screwed it up because I would look at fishing, and I used to think, I don't know that this is going to last because fishing was really crappy at times when I was in Redondo. Like, we'd go out like on a half-day boat with 80 people and come back with 3 blue perch on a good day. And there was an old man who used to tell me, dude, it's cycles. The guy's name was Ray Greenwood. He was an old bait boat guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. No clue. Guess what? I had no clue. He was right. It was a cyclical kind of thing. So your future in this business, how do you feel about it? Does it look good to you?
I think so.
In terms of like
so.
the resource, it looks good, right?
Yeah. There is a little bit scary things, though, coming down with that AB 3030. That's kind of a little bit scary for all of us in the industry of shutting down the coast.
This guy's reading my mind on this, man. I want to talk about that a little bit. First of all, you want to chime in on 3030? You want me to kind of say what?
I honestly would like to hear it come from Mark and Gary's
Okay, good,
mouths
good.
because they are the future. All 3 of us, I'm older than them, but I basically have the same amount of time as they do in this industry.
Yeah.
I'm a new guy from the desert. Fortunately, his father and even his father let me learn underneath them and allow me to run their boats and stuff like that. But coming from 20s to 19s to 20s, the kids aren't aware of what this actually is, and it needs to be put in check really fast and done better. So,
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you.
And we're going to get your impression. Let me just kind of explain
Yeah.
my understanding of 3030. If I'm wrong, let me know. So, state of California wants to protect 30% of the land, 30% of our waterways, and 30% of the sea. What protect means is ambiguous at this point in time. We don't know what it means. It could be anything. It's worrisome because it could mean shutting down vast areas of fishing, of our coastline. So for me, I look at the positives that fishing brings to so many lives. I've worked with inner city families for many, many, many years. I've seen how a day on the water can open new educational doors, opportunities. It helps families to bond. Recently, we did a show with a little girl named Bella, 12 years old, and you could see her and her father have come together via fishing. So, Mark, what do you think? 3030, are you worried about that? And what do you think about it?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, if it goes through, it's going to have a huge impact on us. I think that most of it's politically driven. It's part of a bigger agenda, which I don't know what that is, but there's definitely not much science behind it because California has more marine protection areas than anywhere else in the world.
Just adding more of those
And
areas without the science behind it.
They're not recognizing that 15% of the California coast is closed, and they're going to add on another 30% to that. That's going to be a major issue for a lot of people. It's going to affect, more than us, it's going to affect commercial fishermen, tackle shops,
Hotels, gas stations.
the state's not going to make money off fishing licenses as much, and it's going to drive business elsewhere.
Yeah, California's pretty good at doing that, though. I think they've got a model that, in terms of being anti-business and allowing businesses to flourish, they're pretty good. They're really succeeding at accomplishing that goal. What do you think, Gary?
I definitely think it is scary to think about. Last year I did sit in on an MOPA meeting from Fish and Game. It was like kind of a thing I had with my school. And there was a big talk about cycling closures. Whereas, let's say one area the Catalina's closed is Italian Gardens. They're going to move that a little bit further down the island, open that up for a certain amount of years, and then change it back. So I was kind of hoping like that was a more common thing. But now with this 3030, it's like, well, I don't think they're going to do that anymore.
Yeah, we've all had hopes that certain areas, Rocky Point, Farnsworth areas. I recreational dive. I see a little bit of stuff that can go on with being from the underwater side of things, but not going back and testing the process and see what they've done. Ken Frankie over at SAC they've pushed so hard to reopen a lot of their depths. That's why we get to fish 600 feet now. Still 40 fathoms at San Nick and Santa Barbara. That probably won't change because they're still gathering data on what has gone on since for the cow cod and whatnot, which I don't think will probably ever open back up cow cod, which would be cool because they were delicious. Good to eat.
They still are,
yeah,
presumably.
Yeah. But the biggest thing that you young people that are listening and watching, including these guys, do your research, do your homework. Old guys like Phil here, like they've preached it for years in certain forms of conservation. We're okay with the bag limits that we have, right? I mean, as long as we have something to give our customers. And back to what you were saying earlier, my guys in the office, I tell them, you're not just selling a fishing ticket. You're selling an escape. You're selling an escape from land. This is if you guys know any of us and met any of us, we're a bunch of weirdos. Like, we like being the guy that said I'm coming to your house after signing up for that. Hello. But I tell my employees, I mean, you're better than any old therapist. The trips, the bonds you guys are going to make with your customers are going to last forever. Have you seen it with your parents on the boats? These guys they fish with them. They barely know anything about them, but they know that getting on this boat's my safe place, and it's in the middle of the frickin' ocean. How can that be safe? But yeah, we offer such a great thing, and to have more and more of that taken away, then you're going to have to really start songing and dancing because you won't be able to produce any sort of product for these people. And we're less than a point of a percentage of what we do as sport fishing, in our world that doesn't even come up on the radar of catch. Like we document everything we do, and there's no science and not much science put behind it. I don't know. There's a scientist somewhere that's probably going to watch this and go, "That guy's an idiot," but. It's just we don't know the oceans. I mean, how much do we know about the oceans? But we know what a little bit we have, and we know we go fish certain things, and every year it cycles, changes. They've proved that they've had tagged fish and from way up past Santa Barbara, and they found it at the Galapagos. These things move. Everything migrates. So I don't know what we offer people that have that taken away, and then having to charge more for something we can't produce. I mean, it's terrifying. These kids want to do it forever, and I want to be there to help them. So. If we get more and more taken away, there just won't be anything left.
There's so many things that we just hit on that I want to focus in on. One is, though, selling the adventure, selling a break from reality, going out on the water. Every single person that goes out on a trip comes back refreshed.
Oh, yeah.
They've left all the crap at home, right?
Well, last year was the worst of it. I saw some of these people, as soon as I'm handing them a ticket, they were all teary-eyed, like, man, I needed this in my life. The people walking up and down the docks like, hey, man, sell me a plastic, bro. Like I'm jonesing to go fishing. But that first few months that we were open, didn't matter what we were catching, how we were catching it, if the burgers taste any good. They didn't even they looked at their rod, they just left it in the rack going, oh, God, this is so nice, just getting away from normalcy. And that's what we offer. This is way better. Disneyland, therapy, you name it. I mean, I could say a few other things, but you guys are children still. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Mark, I like where you started. When I asked both you guys, well, all three of you guys, when I asked you guys about the 30-30 thing, you started with, let's make this evidence-based, right?
Yeah.
And that's definitely where to start on this.
Yeah, you need to do research and stock assessments and kind of use your head, common sense approach to it rather than just shut it down, take it away.
Because, Gary, it's really easy to say. If you say to people, hey, we're going to protect 30% of the ocean, most people are going to say, hey, good idea. But they don't realize the unintended consequences.
Yeah, they don't realize who it's affecting.
Yeah.
It's 30% of our ocean.
Yeah.
We're doing our best to not overfish this gosh darn thing. And everything we're going to... Look, Cameron, for instance, or the guy we know that goes out and catch black cod and whatnot, I mean, that's going to go away from him, and everything's going to be imported in from who the hell knows where. They don't even have any control overseas. It's just focused in on us, man. Like, we need to go bigger and broader here.
And I worry also, everybody, that this is going to have an adverse effect on lower income families, the families that don't have the money to They don't have a yacht, so they can't zip over to Catalina and see a beach like that or fish a beach like that. They walk down to the piers and they fish with their family. It's a great thing. You see with different ethnicities. Fishing transcends all socioeconomic levels. I mean, you see all kinds of ethnicities. You see rich to poor fishing. But I think it could have more of an adverse effect on those families that want, if their area gets closed and they don't have the money to go fish in other areas, they're done with this.
Yeah. It's happened pretty quickly, too.
And when Theodore Roosevelt, I'll give you guys you guys know that. Theodore Roosevelt, when he did the national park system, he put all these places aside. When he was a kid, he had asthma, he was sick. He went to Montana and he had this summer where he regained his health and he decided to himself, or really figured out, it's that great outdoors that is so important to people. So he didn't take these parks and say, okay, here's this park. Nobody go near it. Nobody touch it. Nobody fish here. That wasn't his goal. His goal was to allow the common man to experience the beauty of our natural resources. Rich people could already do that. But the common man is what he wanted to preserve that for. And I think in some sense, that's what we're fighting for here.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I think that the common guy, that's so important. So a lot of the people that come down here will never experience this if it's not for jumping on the Monte Carlo or the Amigo or whatever.
Yep. It's deeper than you think. It's going to affect a lot of us. I mean, we can adapt and take people whale watching if that's allowed. We're talking about hydrogen engines and stuff in the next few years. Good luck with that. But I mean, these kids, you can see Marky's face when he comes in. He's like, "Would you read that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you better get a lot of fishing in fast before it's gone."
Yeah, hopefully that's not going to happen. One more comment on this, then we're going to get into fishing, what we all love. One more comment is, I get the feeling that politicians nowadays, throughout the entire history of our country, but they give you this binary choice. Either you're for protecting the ocean or you're a rotten, filthy killer and it's not that way. It doesn't have to be a binary choice. It can be, we like to fish, and we're all about habitat restoration, cleaning up the ocean. Why can't we find common ground with everybody? Because certainly we're all in favor of clean water. We're all in favor of protecting species, right? I'm so tired of these binary choices that make people fight against each other. It doesn't have to be that way, Mark.
Yeah, honestly, is someone who depends on the ocean to make a living. Personally, I think I would care about protecting the ocean and making sure that all the stocks are good on fish and keeping it a sustainable fishery, rather than these environmentalists who really have nothing to gain other than taking stuff away. And I don't really understand why there's just, I don't know.
No, but you're making a good point. If the resource gets depleted, if the waters get polluted, you're out of a job.
Yeah, and other than just what they think's the right thing to do, I don't know how much they really know. I don't know what their background is, and just in general,
back to
how
being
much research goes into it,
right.
Being evidence-based.
Gary, feel the same way? I mean, does anybody have more of a motive to protect the ocean's environment than you?
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to see at least more in my lifetime is artificial reefs.
Yeah, I agree.
Artificial reefs really help with habitat restoration, and there's been maybe 2 put in the last 20 years?
We just put the one up by
Trump's
course, and then the Iser's Reef, and the Newport Artificials, but so few and far between.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of mud out there that you could be sustainable.
Like states like Florida that really depend on those artificial reefs, and then you see how good their fishery is.
Right.
Versus here, it's like we need more of those.
I think that's great.
There's a lot of real estate out there that could be utilized with good, artificial stuff, biodegradable type stuff. They've proved it, like I said, on the East Coast, Florida and whatnot.
All right.
They're dropping them constantly. So.
I'm thinking the future looks pretty bright with these two guys. 'Cause these guys are smart guys.
This is
All right.
the most intelligent conversation I've ever had with them. So.
Really?
Groundbreaking.
Me too, actually. Usually we're just playing around with Scott Buchert, you know? Now we're actually talking about something important. All right, let me just bounce off some stuff off you guys. The Amigo. Tell me a little bit about the Amigo. You're second captain on there now, right? But soon to be...
I'll be
done.
running the boat more and more.
Yeah.
But we got the boat last year. Did some major upgrades to it. Redid the bunk room. We extended the wheelhouse so the crew will sleep upstairs and the passengers can have we put a little stateroom type deal in with 3 bunks.
That's that room that says Friedman Adventures on it, right?
Yeah,
I thought so.
And the bunks are wider. We widened all the bunks so they're more comfortable. Eventually we will redo the galley. That needs to get done, but as of right now, I would say from last year we did quite a bit of work on the boat.
Yeah, it's looking really good. Food was great on there. The boat's great. It's fishy too, isn't it? That boat?
Yeah, that
Brand new sonar.
Gets bit. We got a new brand new sonar.
And how does that help catch fish for somebody maybe that's not up on that? We saw the sonar the other day and did a little thing on it. It's a really cool device you've got there.
Yeah, well, in comparison, I would say it's kind of like having a Nintendo and having a PS5. Our Westmar was more of like a Nintendo. It's kind of outdated. This Furuno we have, it's really cool. It's pretty high tech, I would say.
And so right now, what will this show is going to air in a few weeks. So we're going to be looking at April. Pretty soon, are we going to be rock fishing, or is it possible that we get a sea bass and yellow bite going on? Or what? If you had to guess, what's going to be happening in the next couple of months?
Well, it's hard to predict, but nothing's impossible. We could be catching sea bass in potentially late March, early April.
There's a sign of squid. You got squid on the beach, squid at the V's,
Island.
squid at the front side of Clemente right now. It's a good sign for this springtime bite. It's
Most of that is going to be based on water temp, right? And once you get to that 60 degrees, then that sea bass kind of starts to kick in, and the more temp you get, the better they seem to want to feed.
Yeah, water temp and squid, and there's a lot of factors, but I'm hoping we can hit the ground running here.
Yeah, but I mean, what's wrong with going rock fishing too, man? That's going to be great. There's no better eating fish than that, and you guys have the range to fish some really great areas.
Oh yeah, we could go all the way out to Cortez Bank or San Nick or even Santa Barbara Island's really good rock cod fishing, and they're easy to catch if you're not an experienced angler, and you take home a big bag of fillets, and it's fun, especially bring your kids out and get them into fishing, and it's a great way to introduce them.
Absolutely. Gary, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be bouncing between the Freedom and the Pursuit, I understand.
Yeah, I'll be back and forth between those two boats.
All right, let's talk Pursuit. Talk about that run. It's a extended 3/4 day, right?
Well, more. It's called a full day now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
6 to 6 full day, fishing Catalina Island daily. I'll probably be working the main deck position over there this year. Same thing on the Freedom, or not the main deck, but we'll be working deck. And then, it's pretty much going from there.
You guys on the Pursuit don't screw around with like how far you will run. I mean, you're all over the place, right?
Yeah. It's I've been on the boat plenty of times on a full day trip. We've been almost to Santa Barbara. We fished the front side of Clemente before.
You fished the front side of Clemente?
Yeah, we fished the front side of Clemente before on a full day trip.
Oh my God! What do you get? Like 4 hours out of that?
Yeah, but it was worth it though. Caught a lot of yellowtail. So
you guys are unbelievable.
Yeah, and even during the offshore years, we were making a run up to probably 50 miles a day on that thing, just in one direction. So almost 100-mile round trip on that boat, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
especially when you have the Red Rooster, the Polaris driving across
your stern
right? On a yellowfin bite. Yeah.
They love that too. They love to see the full day boat going by, trolling by them. Yeah. Is the 100 fathom thing going to help? And what I mean by that, in case people don't know, in some areas you're going to be able to fish to 100 fathoms, 600 feet of water. Is that going to help?
I think it will. Just finding a new area though definitely is like we're gonna have to do that a lot more in that deeper water.
Yeah.
But the quality of that deeper water will be a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. And I hear some guys are whining about that a little bit, like I don't want to drop 2 hooks down to 100 fathom. What the hell?
I know most of the 2 hook thing is the 2 hook thing. Hopefully that changes. But I mean, it's going to make for a quick trip if you're able to fish 5. So that's kind of the way I see it. But most of our guys, they all they made that 2-speed Fathom very economical, and just an example. But they made the 2-speed reels and Spectre and everything. It shouldn't be that big of a deal.
It's not that big a deal.
But if you come up with your old Jigmaster, it's going to suck. But most everybody that gets on a boat an overnight or a full day trip, I mean, you've spent years tuning up your Pursuit customers. You see the stuff that gets on that boat. I mean, it's long range equipment. They should be able to figure out how to catch their limited rockfish real fast at any depth.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
What about tackle? Now, is that an issue when you're rock? I mean, what should you bring 2 pounds of lead now that you're going to be fishing 100 fathoms, or what, Mark?
Yeah, I would definitely use at least 4 pounds of weight. And,
Oh, really? 4?
Oh yeah, if you're fishing 100 fathoms, yeah, definitely.
Especially if you have current and wind too, then you really want
There
to
you go.
And you're not going to anchor up on these things.
No,
You
we're
wanna
gonna
get
be
your sinker to the
600
bottom.
feet of water,
Mostly
yeah.
drifting.
Why is that so important to have that 4 pounds of lead for the anglers that are listening? What is it? Because you get when the guy says, "Hey, drop," he's over the fish, right?
Oh yeah.
So you want to get down there, right?
You want to get down
That's
there
number one.
as soon as possible, and you factor in wind and current, you won't hit the bottom. Your sinker's going to be dragging miles.
Yeah, this is an example of a 2 pound.
Oh,
A 2 pound sinker.
touch
If you guys
my
can zoom in on
microphone.
this thing, but 4 pounds is double that. So it's But you come to any tackle shop. Most of the guys that own a tackle shop have done this before. They used to make their winter money fishing cod, which we've yet to do. That would be really cool. Fill trash cans full of reds.
do you have
But-
4 pound sinkers here at the landing?
No, and I'm dreading to buying them, but I got to get them.
Why? Because they're so expensive, or what?
I just don't know if we need to go into that depth quite yet. I mean, it just gives us, example. We're always worried about these lines that are imaginary, but they're on GPS coordinates. If we have to drift a little deeper onto some stuff, we'll be okay. We'll be legal. We won't be in a panic. So, your 10 ounce, 12 ounce, 1 pound sinker that you can have probably get the job done. Just initially start. I mean, these guys aren't going to just go hard charge to 600 feet and let it rip. We're going to tell the people that's what our plan is, tune them up on the tackle before the trip. Even talking about pulling out the old sash weights, having them on the boat, just have some rebar that's all wired up. I mean, we're going to make it work, but like I said, we're fishing 300 and something feet, and now we can fish 6, but instead of fishing 6 right away, we might fish 400 or like 390 or it's just not gonna, you're not gonna rip the Band-Aid off. But let's go for it, boys, because it's still very new to all of us, and all the younger captains in the area, unless they accidentally fished a little too deep. But yeah, so they're just not gonna let it rip and leave you out there to dry. So.
Gary, I get the impression that a lot of people out there think like it's rock cod. There's no, you just drop your line down and you get bit. Okay, is that true, or are there some things you can do? Like, I mean, is there anything you can do to improve your chances?
I've kind of I know it's kind of like weird to say, but honestly, like changing your squid strips does have something to do with it sometimes. Like, think about it as like I'm eating a piece of food, I throw it down the floor and someone else is gonna come eat it. It's like you want to change it out a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's a fish, but still. Don't use anything goofy, like big bucktails with big rubber grubs and just.
You mean like those things over there? Throw me one of those, Steve. Now, come on.
I mean, yeah, those do work.
That's
All right,
gonna,
well,
that's
thank
gonna
you.
work somewhere.
gonna
Jim
work somewhere,
Weber
but
from
not-
Alaska sent me these.
Late night
Yeah.
in Vegas somewhere, maybe.
Don't get Jim, man, because who got a man? Jeff Jessup said he worked up in Alaska, and that down here they fish way harder than they do in Alaska. And Jim came unglued.
You take that to Nick though, or like the
Yeah,
Savage baits, put a head on it. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to piss out of those lingcod.
Here's
You
one
know,
caught in big red.
Yeah, right?
yeah, they'll eat it.
But stuff around Kelly,
Don't
I didn't want
start
to say
with that. Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
but you get out on Cortez or you.
Oh,
Yeah,
out,
exactly.
out
When
at
you
out
fish-
at Nick, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
That thing's gonna work.
Catch some lingcod. I haven't used anything like that personally. I'm sure it would work, but those Savage gear, I don't know what they call them. They're about 8 inches.
I don't think
Yeah.
they make them anymore, but
They don't?
somebody will make them. I haven't seen
Those
them.
Yeah, I
work
fished
really
those
well
before
for
with, like, even
lingcod.
the,
Mike's used those before, but not in fishing. So I didn't really want to get into that, actually.
Guilty.
What is the most important lesson you've learned from your father? What is with regard to fishing or in life in general?
Well-
Now you know the question's coming your way, Dave.
The most important lesson, that's a hard question, but
One of the most important. I'm sure
he
there's
definitely
some.
emphasized that there's a lot more to running a sport fishing operation than just going out and catching fish. And that I'm definitely seeing that now. You got dealing with crew, you have paperwork, bills. There's just so many factors you gotta factor in there.
That is such an important lesson, no doubt about it. And I see that in your father too, because he's looking at the whole big picture, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Gary, most important lesson you learned from your father?
Don't get discouraged when you're running the boat. I've seen my dad plenty of days when I was younger, and still today when he is just not his day.
Yeah.
He just does not give up to the very end. And I think that's like one of the most important lessons that he's taught me and that I've seen from him.
That's great. Perseverance.
Yeah.
Keep going, right?
Keep going.
Yeah, because.
Don't give up.
And do you have any lessons that you? Whoa, yeah, you're a captain.
Oh, that's being a captain of a boat. That's they say what is nothing colder than yesterday's hot dogs,
right?
And trust nobody. But you have to be able to lick your wounds every day and not give up, and give everybody or give yourself what it's worth for the day. You've tried everything that you've known, and we're all still learning. I mean, I'm second. He started running a boat. Did I start running a boat for you or me? Whatever.
I don't know.
But we're still learning fishing two different things. I mean, I could fish locally. He is learning locally stuff. I mean, I've sent him out on a handful of half-day trips, and he's like, "What are you doing, Mike? How can you do this to me?" And I was like, "Walt does it every day. He does a pretty good job. I mean, even lying about his fish count, but who cares? Put on a show. Take them out there. Show them a good time. Let them get their lines wet. Let them change their squid trips, like Gary said, in between their hour moves because they turn into beef jerky."
You don't want to let him try it.
But biggest thing, I look up to both their fathers. My father passed away a few years ago, and Mark was there for me for that, and Paul and Dan. But just perseverance and put on a good show and make sure everything's clean, smells nice, and have a good time. I mean, it's not about fishing; it's about how we're treating our people to make sure they stay.
Mike,
yeah,
that is so important, and I admire you. I hate to say this because I don't want you to get a big head, but honestly, you're dealing with all of these captains, people. You always got a great attitude. You're always smiling. I could see sometimes you're preoccupied. I'll say something to you, and you're like thinking about a million other things that are going on, and you have to do. But when the guy walks up to buy some squid, or the guy comes in and asks a question, you are always so accommodating, so nice, and I think that's half the battle in this business.
Customer retention's everything. I mean, these kids know it. I mean, they're not going to rebook a charter on your boat if your attitude sucks, and you got to show them a good time over there. And you guys have dealt with 75 people. You used to work on the Native Sun with 90 people during some of the greatest fishing we've seen locally here. If you don't like people, this isn't for you. Like, we love people, and most everybody on your boats, especially you, because you get a little more intimate with your charters. Building your charter business is going to be huge for you. They're going to take the good trips with the bad trips because they know you're going to be a badass. It's in your blood. Same thing with you. You're dangerous. You guys are killers. It's in your blood. People are going to expect you to catch, and they're going to be there when you do, and they're going to be there when you suck at it. So I've been on plenty of sucky trips myself. But I don't have it in my bloodline. I just got lucky because I knew how to fix a vending machine one day.
Well, why don't you tell that story? How'd you end up at 22nd Street Landing?
I don't know if I said last time.
For the life of me, I can't figure it out.
I moved here from the desert, and I liked fishing. We used to fish here all the time. And I walked in one day, and Carl was MFing this ice cream machine, and I said, "I'll fix it for you." And he wouldn't hire me at first, and then I fixed it, and he had to hire me. That was
he
part
should
of
have
the
stayed
deal.
with his first
I would have fired me right after that. But yeah, fortunately, like I said, I got really good, and these guys have even better because they get to go home and talk to them about it. But I have such a good network of humans to learn what we do here. It's badass, and as for our customers, it's the same for you. You need to come and learn, and people will have patience to show you what's going on. Especially with these loads being 35 people, you're gonna be able to go and attend everybody on the boats, you and your 15 people, and he's going to be on the overnight stuff, and he's going to be at the Catalina Island, and I'll be here stuck on land as usual. But whatever, I picked that spot. But that's all we got. This is our inner network, and everybody that comes fishing with us, we weed out the ones we don't want here pretty quick, and everybody else stays and brings friends. It just gets better and better every year. I've been here for 9 years, going on 10, I think, and our customer retention's freaking everything. These guys kick ass. I never have to go down there and get shitty with them sometimes, but I did beat them up once in the shop. Made them both bleed and cry. we can go and record that one again. But
Who was that? These guys? Both these guys? Or
they
what?
came in picking a fight with me, man. It was
Good
I
for
was,
you.
I was minding my own business one day. Gary came in. I think it was like a couple days. I got a picture I'm gonna send to you guys to see. It's cute. They're both like chubby back in there, and they're sitting next to
Mark
Opa.
was chubby?
And they were baby fat still. And and I was just minding my own business in the shop. I think Gary started talking shit. And then we were moving some stuff in the shop, and there was like an octagon built. And I'm like, all right, let's go, guys. And I don't know. Marky tried hitting me. I grabbed him, headlocked him, jumped on top of Gary because he's still a big kid. And I started grinding his head in the thing, beating Marky up. I don't know which one of them bled. And
I bled.
Nice.
But at that point, that moment, I knew that they had my back forever, because they don't fuck with Uncle Michael, It's just- But they're gonna get even with me. I always walk around like backwards so I don't get. Yeah, they're gonna push me down the ramp.
That's me first, Dave. I'm in the
But
wheelchair first.
I look forward to growing up with these kids, man. These are the future. There's a handful of guys, Gus too included. He's not in on this. He might come in one day. I don't know if he ever wants to go on this thing, but this is us. We're the new wave. I'm gonna be grandpa before they have kids, but this is gonna be badass. We're gonna grind this thing until it's done.
Yeah, and I'm so thrilled that's why you guys are here today, because we get a picture of what this business, where it's headed into, and I like what I'm seeing with you two guys. I really do. How high up on the priority list is customer service? Is having a relationship with your customers to you?
Honestly, it's probably the highest,
Uh-huh.
especially on a charter boat, because you want to build a relationship with your customers, and these relationships you build, they're gonna last for a long, long time. And I like meeting new people, and I've met a lot of cool people just in the last year charter fishing with Jeff. Some of Jeff's groups are very cool. And
That Friedman Adventures, they're a bunch of a-holes, but the rest of them are pretty nice, right?
yeah.
Yeah. You're right, because I used to charter with a guy named Joe Chait in San Diego on the first the Conquest, and then he got the Pegasus. But Joe and I became really good friends.
Uh-huh.
It got to the point where I didn't even think about walking down on those docks and getting on another boat, because we had such a close relationship. And sometimes I would go get on an open party boat. I'd get invited by Buzz on the Prowler or somebody. And just why he's like, where are you? What the hell are you doing? And I go, hey, it's an open party trip, man. It's like, and so you kind of want to have that, and for business reasons, it works really well that way, right?
Yeah, and even personal reasons, just because you meet a lot of cool people and you go fishing with them, and like, I've been on yachts with my dad from guys we met fishing and built relationships and actually became good friends. So there's a lot to gain from just that.
Absolutely. Gary, same thing for you. I mean,
I think
customer service, is that high up on the
It's
list?
high up. It's probably number one for me, because like if you think about it, if you have a shitty day of fishing, you want to treat the customers good, because they're gonna think, yeah, we had a shitty day of fishing, but that deckhand was cool. He talked to me. We had a good conversation, and they're gonna want to come back after that.
That's for sure. And
We've all been on that trip, including yourself, where
Yeah.
you're like, this fishing trip kind of sucks. Where's the crew? Like maybe we could shake them down with some blackjack in the galley or something.
Yeah.
They're just nowhere to be seen because they're having a worse day than us. But we don't do that down there. We're down there sitting on the bait tank going, man, this sucks too. But you know what? It's nice out.
It's a beautiful day. You're not at work, and it's a good time to enjoy. The other thing about fishing, I don't know if you guys place this, maybe for me it really worked really well, is work ethic. In this business, that's such an important, valuable lesson for people. Gary, your work ethic is...
Got to be able to work long
incredible.
hours. Got to be able to stay up long hours. Got to be able to work a 15-hour day, and you finish a 40-hour work week by Wednesday afternoon, basically.
Yeah. Mark? Yeah, I mean, what kind of... Tell me about your a day on board the Amigo. What's it like?
Well, being a night driver this past year, got to stay up all night. It's probably...
So from what time do you start driving?
Probably 3 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
It's, in my opinion, it's the most important job, because everybody's depending on you to get them to the spot safely.
Yes.
And a lot can go wrong if you're not paying attention or you fall asleep. So from that aspect, it's more of a mental thing when you're doing that, just staying up all night and
And staying focused, right?
yeah, making sure nothing goes wrong, paying attention to the engine room, checking out everything, making sure there's no problems that could lead to bigger problems.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not going to mention who, but I was on a boat one time and we finished albacore fishing, right? And the guy running the boat goes, "Okay, you're on the wheel." Me, right? You know, I don't have a license or anything. I go, "Okay, no problem." So like about 6 hours into this, I'm like, "Hey, you know, we're getting close to the islands, and I've never gone through the middle grounds, and there's all kinds of crap in there that I know." And he wakes up and he looks and he goes, "You'll be fine." He goes back to sleep. And I happened not to hit one of the rocks in middle grounds at Coronado Islands, but you're so right. It's so important, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, especially when you're driving around islands at night. It's hard to see.
Right.
Got to use all your equipment. Sometimes you could use a sonar if you're not familiar with an area to look for boilers and stuff that would really...
and a boiler is a submerged rock.
A submerged rock,
while,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Full busters.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Boiler is not your friend.
pretty much end your day if you're not paying attention.
What's your average day like when you're working on the pursuit? What time do you get to work? How long do you work?
So on the pursuit, we get our bait early before we get the passengers on the boat to give them more fishing time. So usually when I run the deck over there, I get up at 3:50 in the morning, just so I can have time to get everything ready, just give myself more an advantage on the day. So usually, then we get to the bait barge around like 4:30, load bait, go back, pick the people up, and then travel, fish all day. Usually I'll probably get home around like 7 at night, I'd say. So that's a little bit longer of a day.
Pretty long day.
Yeah.
And then what? You just die, go to sleep, and then start all over again?
Yeah, basically.
How many days in a row will you work?
So usually this past year, I think I was doing like 3 days on the pursuit and 3 days on the freedom.
So you got 1 day to recuperate?
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
you, Mark?
This last year, I was working 6 to 7 days a week.
Do you have any of those 20-day stretches, 30-day stretches, anything like that?
Not 30 this last year, but I think the longest stretch was maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was
And
tiring.
you're lucky, man. Up in the office, 9 to 5, right? You hardly put in.
Yeah.
Even you up in the office, your work ethic's through the roof, right?
Back to me learning as much as I have learned since I've been here because of who the guys I'm associated with. It would, hey, you want to go bait fish tonight? We're leaving at 10. I'm like, all right, cool. I get off at 10, but can I be there at 10:15? All right, cool. So jump on the bait boat, go fish bait Newport or Pedro, and then jump off the skiff to open the landing when Gary walks down to the boat at 4:30 in the morning, get the boats out, jump back on the skiff, get back out to the bait boat, finish up the day, possibly sleep 2 or 3 hours. Our lives are pretty miserable, but it's all the reward.
They're not, though, right? You
no,
like
I mean,
that.
if you guys want a real job and want to test your hand at being a man, go talk to Gus and go try a week on that pursuit. Just 1 week, it'll make or break you in the industry. And I think I was talking with Kelly about this, Kelly Conradi, about Allison. I have a daughter too, and we're like thinking, man, we don't want our daughters to be around these scumbags. I mean, I know both of these kids; they are awful.
I wouldn't want
I would not.
I don't have a dog.
But
I don't want my sons around them.
Exactly. Why wouldn't I? Gus was even saying this too. If he had a little girl, he's like, I would want one of my daughter to marry and date and whatever these guys down here because the work ethic's second to none. Like these guys are animals. We're all animals.
You mean they prioritize the working as opposed to family time, or what
no?
do you mean by that?
The family time. I don't know if Mark and Paul and Jeff or anyone's ever touched on that, but I mean these guys work as hard as they do so they can provide for their families. And
right.
The more you work, the more money you make, and hopefully you can do what everybody's done here and acquire a little bit of a piece of the pie in our industry. And generally, if you have the same work ethic as the boss, you get brought up with them. You get to be included in, possibly being a boat owner, being the captain, being head of something and making more money. In Southern California, our season doesn't end. We stop it at some point because we have to repair our boats. We have to paint them up. And then that's grueling 2-3 months, depending on how far. I mean, when you guys got the Freedom, unfortunately, the boat was, in shambles. And if you guys have been on the Freedom, what Mark's trying to explain with the Amigo, the Freedom's badass. I mean, it's the Taj Mahal of sport boats up in our area, for overnight fishing. And that's the goal with the Amigo as well, is just to make it clean as whistle. If you've guys ever been on the Pursuit, 6 or 7 years ago, it wasn't a pile, but man, the amount of time and money they put back into these
That
things.
boat's looking good right now.
And it goes back to what all of our work ethics are, is you're not going to get on a hunk of junk over here and not come back. You know, you might have the best fishing trip of your life on that boat, but you're like, I didn't really like the cockroaches crawling around on that boat, and we don't have that shit here. You know, we kick ass and take names, but start early in the morning, finish late. Don't go home till the job's done, and, you know, get your 3 or 4 hours of sleep in and get back and do it again, you know. But our season is 3 months, but we never stop fishing. You know, the Monte Carlo had a hell of a week, you know, with our 35 people we're allowed to put on there. Mark Padal brought us some live squid, changed the name of the game, and that's something we're going to look forward to. You know, there should be squid available, maybe some anchovy, but we're probably going to be stuck with sardine and squid this coming year. But the whole cycle in the commercial world, like, for them to want to take more fishing from us, back to the AB 3030 thing, what are we going to do with our time? Like, we aren't designed for any other workplace. We're just not designed for it. Like, you go to a 9-to-5 job and you're like, but I get a break? What the hell is a break?
Well, let me tell you guys. So I went to, you guys know I was in China teaching for 3 years. So go to China to teach, right? And so my schedule at Kunshan International School was to teach an hour and a half a day. And there were foreign teachers there who were saying, oh my God, this is brutal. I'm so tired. An hour and a half. Meanwhile, the Chinese teachers in the office that I worked in, they're like 12 hours a day. But because you're an American, and I felt bad about that too, really bad about that. An hour and a half you stand, and you got to do lesson plans and stuff like that. So yeah, I had to get like on the internet and get some funny movies to play. And no, I'm only kidding. You actually have to do lesson plans. But so an hour and a half a day, and people are complaining, obviously weren't raised in this business. And so what did I do? I would get finished at 3:00 at Kunshan International School, run out, get an Uber, which is called a DD in China, and to an after-school program. And then I would teach there for 4 hours. And then I'd walk out the door, go to a Starbucks, pound down a big old coffee, and I'd teach at one of the Wanda malls, they're called in China, these giant, opulent, beautiful malls. And I would teach adults at night. And it was like no big deal because I came out of this industry. It was that work ethic that helped me so much when I was in China. It really, really, really did. All right, let's focus on some fishing. Yes. Mark, what's your favorite kind of fishing on the Amigo? What do you like to do more than anything? Sea bass, yellows, albacore. Well, albacore. Have you caught albacore before?
Not on the Amigo, but when I was a kid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you like offshore? What do you like?
I like everything. It just depends. I like fishing offshore for bluefin. It's fun flying the kite for those big bluefin.
Let's talk about that. So I come out on the Amigo. I want to get a big old bluefin tuna, and it's kite fishing. So do I bring a kite, or do you have a kite, or how does that all work?
We have all that. We have kites on the boat, helium. We have all the rigging, rods. We have everything you need to fly.
Do you let him inhale the helium and do those stupid sounds with his voice, or no? You don't do that?
I use that from other voiceovers.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, we even have all the flying fish. We have everything you need. So if you're looking to do that during when the time's right, there's definitely a time and place. This last October was good.
Is it mostly a fall kind of thing? Is that what you would say?
They're around in the summer, but we're focusing on fishing other stuff. But yeah, in the fall, we definitely kind of target the bigger bluefin.
And how does that work? Is it a lottery? Like whose number's up first, or and how many people can fish at the same time on the kite?
And what is flying the kite?
Yeah,
like walking the dog with a yo-yo.
What does that mean?
Like there's people that don't have a clue about this. We need to get some.
Yeah, so
like a kite.
So
reel
when you're flying,
pop in here.
You have a kite. You tie it to a rod.
An actual kite, right?
An actual a fishing kite. Yeah. It's just a fancier, more expensive.
Does it have like Cinderella on it and those kind of things, or no? Oh, okay.
No, seriously.
Yeah, so you have that connected to a rod. About 100 feet down, you have a clip. And then you have your rod you're actually fishing with a flyer rigged up appropriately.
We're fishing 2 rods, right?
One controls
the kite.
One has a kite, one has your bait.
Yeah.
And then you have your clip. So you strip out 20 feet of line, you tie your balloon on, put it on the clip, and you let the kite out, and that's going to take your bait out, and your bait's going to be sitting on the surface flat. So when a fish is looking up at it, it's just going to see kind of the bottom profile of the bait on the water, and it's pretty exciting when they eat it.
It's
why? Because
really
they blow
cool.
out on it?
I've seen 200-pound tuna jump 10 feet out of the water trying
Wow.
to eat this thing, and half the time they miss it, but they come back for it. And
Oh my God! But that's got to be so exhilarating to see that, right?
Everybody's screaming, yelling. It eats the bait. You got to wind a bunch of line in, tied.
Yeah, for you guys that don't know or that don't know how to catch a big bluefin, have you ever watched one of those Bill Dance shows where that big largemouth bass just comes out of the water and hails whatever bait that's going across the water? Multiply that and make it a 300-pound bass. And the bigger splash, it's like going to SeaWorld. It's the most impressive thing. If you haven't done it yet and you don't want to actually wind on this thing, just sitting on the upper deck and watching bluefin explode on some kind of bait, whether it's a little yellowfin or a flying fish or whatever it is intense. I mean, like arm hairs standing up.
You don't have to be a fisherman to appreciate that either. I mean,
no.
It's National Geographic quality stuff, right?
Badass, like so sick. Like skip jigs, stuff like that. You know, you guys got to come fishing with us. Like let's put together come fish with me, Mark and Gary Day, and a couple other hot sticks on the boat. And when it bites, like it's you can just sit back and watch and drink a beer and go, oh my God, this is what these idiots are talking about. Why do they go fishing? Because fishing's boring, you know. Try to talk your girlfriend.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you provide the rod and reel for that, or do I need to bring it?
For the kite fishing, yes.
You do?
We do. We have all that stuff.
So I don't have to worry about, I don't have the appropriate tackle to catch a 200-pound bluefin. You guys have that on board the
When it comes to fishing the kite, yes. So if you want to get a charter together and do that, then we have all that stuff.
How many people fish at the same time?
On the kite, we could have two rods going. It just depends.
Yeah.
We will put one out and see how it.
Yeah, you get
see
bit,
if they're biting.
You hook a fish, then you send another flying fish
Yeah,
right back
once-
out. You just keep rotating them back.
Once you
in
come
and out.
tight and the fish is tight and you're pulling on it, we fish heavy gear, 200-pound, 300-pound test.
Yeah.
So
That's what I like, man.
once we hook a fish, we'll hand the rod off to whoever,
Yeah.
and then we'll put another bait out immediately. So we could potentially have 4, 5, 6 200-pound
Wow.
bluefin going at once.
How long does it take the average guy to land a 200-pound bluefin tuna?
An hour or
Say
two.
Alex, our intern, had one. What would you say, 3 days?
Like an hour and a half maybe from start to finish.
Okay. And sometimes it's
sooner.
quicker than that,
Well,
right?
Sometimes they'll swim right to the boat.
Uh-huh.
It's weird. And
Really?
yeah, especially at night, I've noticed
night.
with the lights, for some reason they get weird
Mesmerized
in the lights,
or
and they
just
just swim right to the boat.
But they got to be hotter than hell
Oh,
when
yeah,
you put a
it's
gaff in them,
terrifying.
right?
Yeah.
That's even worse almost,
I
right?
gaffed a 180. It was kind of right on the edge of where I could gaff it and where I couldn't gaff it. And I stuck this thing, and it just completely annihilated me.
Tore you up?
Oh, yeah.
Were you alone?
Well, I gaffed it first, and then everybody else was trying to stick this thing in. And
It's tearing you to shreds.
I had it gaffed for probably 20 seconds before anybody else got a gaff.
The longest 20 seconds.
And I only
of
weigh
your life.
140 pounds, so that thing was dragging me up and down the rail.
Wow, that is amazing, man. So those big bluefin, I mean, that is an amazing fish right here in Southern California now, isn't it?
And it's kind of a newer thing, because when I was growing up, I remember a 100-pound bluefin being like, wow, that's a giant bluefin. That's nuts.
Right.
And now people just, 100-pound bluefin, it's like they don't really appreciate these.
They do not.
Even a 100-pound bluefin's a nice bluefin. You know?
I was at Big Fish Bait and Tackle, and this guy walked up to me, and he'd seen our podcast, and he goes, hey, I got a 300-pound bluefin tuna and blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of almost like, I caught a limit of sand bass yesterday. I mean, it's like incredible fishing.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
spectacular, right?
These fish are like once-in-a-lifetime fish. They're amazing. And
knock on wood, we've had multiple lifetimes on this.
Yeah,
one,
right?
Like
Yeah.
3 years of it. That flat fall stuff, the squid and glow-in-the-dark sinker. There was people coming out every night on the Freedom just to redemption. And Tino would call, hey, I got a re-ride. You got room? And the guy, wife would bring him a brand new freaking Macaira whatever and some meat stick, and they finally get one. You guys got to get out here and do this.
I think the fishery really has come far in the last couple of years of finding new ways to fish those things. Like just this last year, a lot of guys started fishing that backpack rig, which is just like a piece of foam on the back of a flying fish, and they're sending that out there and catching bluefin like that.
Describe that a little bit more in depth.
You probably know more about it than I would.
so
Is it a secret?
Kind of.
Dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
it is?
Shit.
Good.
Let's skip that
Let's
secret.
hear it.
Yeah.
Gary gets the luxury because he puts his time in. He's got good grades, and he doesn't get. Last year, he couldn't come to work a few times, or the year before because of his bad grades. But he gets to go fish with Brandon Hayward and Wes and stuff like that. So he's fished on a sport boat, big old sport boat, catching fish. He's fished on the little. I mean, the Parker boats.
Parkers, yeah.
I mean, you've seen it, done it. You went out with like Steve-O and all those guys at one time.
Oh yeah, we did the swordfish thing, the deep drop. That was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that's-
Learning all
Did you
that.
get one?
No, we did not.
Yeah. But you know how to do it. at
Yeah,
least, right?
exactly. If I want to do it even on my skiff now, I can.
Do you get
it.
good grades in school? Or what happened? Who bust you? Your mom? If you don't get good grades? I mean, because I was a horrible friggin' grammar school, high school.
I was
student.
a C&D average student. Let's just say that.
Yeah, me too.
Good
Me
enough.
Yeah.
Too. Me too. And I did
I want to
really.
be a fisherman. That's about
The only reason I think I got out of grammar school and high school and at Loyola, I went to Loyola and graduated from there. My mom made the best prime rib. And she would invite teachers over and the priest of Loyola. And somehow I managed to skate through every single time. I remember my Spanish teacher at Bishop Montgomery High School was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass this guy so he's not going to be here next year. And I ran into her like 4 years after that. And I spent a year in Costa Rica and a couple years in Mexico. And I spoke better Spanish than her. It was so freaking cool. I shouldn't mention her name, but it was great. Yeah, she was like, what happened to you? So, yeah,
cool.
all right. So, you guys on the Freedom catch bluefin all the time also. Somebody mentioned the flat fall. You did. What is a flat fall? How do you fish it for bluefin?
So basically, a flat fall is a glow-in-the-dark jig with, you can probably have 3 hooks on that thing. And you just fish on those bigger Macaira 20 and 200-pound test and just drop it straight down. And a lot of times you get bit on the sink on those things. Not too much on the wine, but this year I did see a lot more like getting bit on the wines. But yeah, just on the sink, you're just dropping it down and all of a sudden it stops, putting gear and elbows Mach 7, just wind into that thing as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, because
hang on.
a jig shouldn't stop, right? People
Yeah.
need to realize that. There's
Especially
a
when you're fishing,
reason,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're tangled or you got to fish.
Yeah.
You want one of those two things. And, we used to troll all the time for albacore and bluefin and everything else, but you don't get that many troll fish. However, do you remember? My kid, or some, I forget, we were sliding on a bunch of bluefin, and somebody said, I go, oh, crap, okay, I'll wind it in. I went back there and I got bit on the troll. Yeah, so once in a while you get bit on the troll, right?
I would say with yellowfin fishing, we catch
There
more
you go.
troll fish.
Yeah,
And
and albacore once in a while.
yeah,
quite a bit.
Albacore eat the troll
Yeah.
pretty good, better than any tuna.
But
I'd say.
bluefin do not, do they?
Sometimes it's very kind of like an uncommon thing, I would say.
It's a bluefin that thought it was a yellowfin.
Like when someone's winding in a bluefin on the troll, I'm like, wow, bluefin, that's kind of cool.
How important, asking all three of you guys for that matter, fluorocarbon and bluefin tuna fishing? Would you go with fluoro or without it? Is it important or not?
It all depends.
With. And what do you say?
Personally, I'm kind of old school in that sense, from just learning from my dad.
Uh-huh. You mean just straight mono or whatever?
Yeah, most of the time, but fluorocarbon definitely has its place. And
What is that place?
when they're kind of picky? I mean, if
Uh-huh.
it's biting wide open, I'm not going to tie on fluoro. It's
Right.
just one more knot that could break.
Yeah.
But if it's a pick bite, I would say, yeah, put on some fluorocarbon, small hook.
And it sounded like you disagreed with that. You said definitely.
I always tie on fluorocarbon. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but I always tie it on.
You just
And
feel like...
even my dad, actually, ever since he didn't believe in it either, but he kind of realized when he started using it more, like he got bit more. So even he's
Even an old man
Yeah.
like John Woodrum,
he's 54
right?
years old, and yeah, he just
Stuck in his ways.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. What about you?
I've spent a lot of money not catching fish because I didn't know how to tie the connection knots. Watching guys just absolutely smoke the whole boat, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, what? And guy gives me this little 3-foot piece of fluorocarbon, give it to the deckhand, tie it on, and you're bit. Mainly on a yellowfin bite, calico bass. Been a picky bite. Sea bass. But then again, when sea bass are biting, you can get bit on a 200-pound dropper loop. When they're biting, but there is a more often than not that you want to put a small liter of fluorocarbon of any size just to change it for you, and your bag limit you'll go home with fish.
And the connection knot, the Tony Pena knot, is a good one, and that is on our YouTube channel with Captain Paul Strasser.
Strasser, the best.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about bluefin. What's another species of fish you like to catch?
I like fish in yellows too.
And yellows
like
are going to be available for you on the Amigo. I know we can't predict it exactly, but like
First trip of the year.
Like when?
Typically June, July is really good for San Clemente.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in the fall we have really good fishing out at like Cortez and Tanner. So it's cool. You can fish yo-yo jigs, and there's various ways to catch them.
All right. Well, let's start with the yo-yo iron. One of my favorite ways on the 100-pound. I like to drop. Yeah, you know that. I fish that heavy line. So how do you fish yo-yo iron for yellowtail?
I usually use 40 to 50 pound test.
Oh, what a wimp! No, just kidding.
With a bigger reel, heavy rod. It's pretty easy. Drop it down, hit the bottom, wind up.
So do you cast?
Yeah, you could cast. But,
do you have to?
I wouldn't say you have to. But
right.
It just depends, I've noticed sometimes you get bit better when you get it away from.
So if you're dropping it straight up and down 3 or 4 times, you don't get a bite. Make a cast, right?
There's definitely a time and place for it. Though when that fish is on the bottom, they eat it really well.
So when you're winding a yo-yo iron, do you wind it all the way back up to the surface, or do you wind it halfway and kick it in free spool and get back down to the bite zone?
Like wind it up mid water column, drop back down, because when the fish is on the bottom, that's when you want to fish it.
And you know that how? How do you know?
I'll tell the people like, hey guys, I'm marking it on the bottom. Try a yo-yo jig. I try to be vocal with that kind of stuff, letting people know what to fish, kind of giving them instructions.
Important, the color of the jig? Is that important? And if so, what do you like?
I like scrambled egg. That's a good color. Or like sometimes mint works good. Just all depends.
Favorite jig?
Favorite jig? Probably Tatty 45.
Okay, a heavy that you sink down, right?
Surface iron, but favorite yo-yo jig, I like those like 6X Juniors. Those are good.
Yeah, and you like fishing heavy line, right?
For yo-yo, yes.
Okay, so I'm winding the jig, and I get bit. What do I do?
Keep winding.
How do okay?
You never want slack in the line.
So you don't rear back on the rod and then drop your rod tip?
Just keep winding. Wind into it and don't stop winding
until the fish
put
pulls
a bend
line
in the
against
rod, and just you don't want. A lot of people, they like to thrash the rod, to like yank on the. I don't know why they do it, but I've noticed
it's a primal thing. I
think it is. It comes naturally, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's very important, kind of just slow and steady. You don't want to be jerking on the rod.
Right. All right. And Gary, give us another method in terms of taking yellowtail, whether it's bait fishing with squid or
surface iron fishing.
Surface iron. Okay.
Straight Joneser for surface iron fishing. I love that shit.
Why?
It's just like this last year I got to do a little bit more of it. Like in the beginning of the season, like I think we were on the Freedom June at San Clemente Island, and I made 7 casts and I had 5 yellows.
Wow.
And it was just biting in Northwest Harbor that day, and I had a few that just completely blew up on the surface iron like it was a fucking popper.
Wow, you gotta love that, right?
That was pretty cool. Yeah, it's like their heart stops, and it's just the coolest shit ever, pretty much.
Same thing when you get bit. Just turn the handle.
Fucking wind, yeah.
Yeah. Color, favorite color?
This year I kind of noticed I got bit on a blue and white, pretty good. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter the color. Surface iron is like as long as your jig swims good, it's gonna get bit. If it doesn't have paint on it, it's gonna get bit.
It is. Yeah. Okay. And favorite jig? Do you have a favorite?
Tatty 45 or 7 or full size 7X.
Yeah. And what is it about getting bit on the surface iron? Is it the movement of the jig, how it swims?
Yeah, because it basically looks like a wounded bait fish that's on the surface and kind of just swimming side to side, and that's what fish kind of look for when they're up on the surface during the summer, and they're more in that predator mode.
So Mark said on the yo-yo iron, you're winding fast.
Oh yeah, winding fast.
How about on the surface iron?
On the surface iron, you're kind of just going with the speed of the reel, pretty much. Just constant motion of it on the surface.
Yeah. Do you ever stop and then wind again, or do you just continue to
I just like to continue wind. I know a few guys that kind of like midway back to the boat, they put it back in free spool, let it sink maybe 10 feet and start winding again. But yeah, I just like to just continue so I can almost like see my jig on the surface.
Yeah. You can see it like wagging its tail almost, right? Mike, is there anything better than winding the iron and then all of a sudden it just comes taunt and you've got a fish? It's such like a primal feeling.
I want to go catch barracuda locally every day of the week.
Yeah.
Patty black and white, single hook, crush the barb, wind through those things. It's incredible.
I got out on the Monte Carlo on an exceptional day this past year for barracuda, and oh my God, those gar, they call them poor man wahoo, but they are so much fun to
I couldn't
catch.
stand eating them for a while until you figured out how to clean them properly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can actually make a barracuda taste good.
My daddy's barracuda.
Yeah,
My-
it's just super fishy, but you clean them properly.
I made
Nice.
ceviche out of the things.
Oh, yeah,
and
no.
it's
Oh,
good.
yeah, they're good
Yeah.
smoked. They're good ceviche.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just winding any surface iron is great for me. But I've had a handful of trips where, like you said, the middle grounds, winding a 4.0 or a 6X, and then started fishing that Tatty BA a lot lately. It resembles the 6X, but just a Tatty C single hook, just cast it, get bit, and then or hand it off. Mainly, I like handing fish off more than anything else.
Me too.
I mean, we've killed a lot of fish and let somebody else pull on it. And
Yeah.
it's all about that experience. That guy can take in your 10-footer going, oh, God, what is this? Why did you hand this to me? And just keep going, man. You got this. And there goes your rod. You're like, fuck.
We caught so many albacore when I was a kid on the Searcher, and we would catch so many that it would get to that point where like you'd set the hook and it's like you're looking for something because you want to get that. That's kind of the drug, like setting the hook.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're like, oh, this is going to be a pain in the ass for, whatever. Here, you catch this one, I'll hook another one. And it's fun just to hook fish, whether it's on the iron or bait or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You were with me on that trip with rental rods. We had the bootleg yo-yo jigs on the Native where we hook and handed everybody on the boat. I think it was me, you, and Jason and Aaron that day. We hooked over, we had 130 fish that day.
I don't think I was.
You had
there.
to have been there.
I wasn't.
That was epic. They were all
Maybe I was
Jigmaster
working on
500s, and we hook and handed this knockoff little flat blue jig, and me and Jason just started winding through, catching these yellows right out there at the 150. The whole boat bent, and then I walk around and go back, and they're all like, "How did you lose all those? It's just a yo-yo jig." But they got to figure out how to yo-yo on a Jigmaster, which is tough to do because it's 3-to-1 or something like that. But back to your jig swimming thing, I'm not as you guys fish better than I do, and I'll be honest. But winding a surface iron, you look at the ratio of the reel. It's like 12-to-1 nowadays. So like you're not going to just wind, cast it out before you even leave the bait barge, and cast it out and stare at it. If you wind slow, it's gonna do whatever. If you speed it up a little bit.
There's some surface irons that want too fast. You just
they just and all jigs swim, but some jigs swim better than others. So when you go pick out a jig on the wall or your tackle box, stare at it. If it looks funky, try it. But if it's not swimming, slow down or speed up. You got to figure out that pattern of where there's a cadence to it. And then most of the time when you get bit, your hand falls off the handle.
Oh my God! How do you pick out a really good jig?
I go in Brian Burrell's tackle box and just take one.
I got my down the tackle box. Yeah.
Mark and Paul don't let me in their garage. They had all the good jigs there.
How do you pick a good jig? Yeah, it's weird. You don't because
A lot of people say the hips kind of like, and then also having the offset holes. Yeah, that's also kind of like a way of picking a good one out, pretty much. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people would say that like good surface irons aren't made anymore. I know the thing that's popular now is those CNC cut jigs, like the OCTs, I think, right, and the steel baits.
Yeah.
I know those are pretty popular now too.
Here's what I want.
How do you pick a jig?
I'm going 20 seconds to your line and say, Mike, help. Give me a jig.
But you can make any jig swim, honestly. But stare at the jig. If it's a little imperfect, make sure the little TIG weld or whatever the hell the silver solder that they have is not all gunked up. Most of the local manufacturers here, they do it all in house, so they take pride in what they have.
I basically pick I say like, what's your favorite jig? He's out on the water a lot more than me. What's your favorite jig? And they say, Tatty 45 blue and white. Sign me up,
exactly.
baby.
Like I'll
listen to the crew.
I'll call Mark, I'll call Gary, I'll call Jeff, John, whoever, and they're saying it's a surface iron bite or what tackle to suggest, and we'll know that the day before or an hour before your trip and make sure you get the right stuff in your hands. But ultimately it's up to you to figure out how to wind that freaking jig. You got to go to the pond, you got to go try it out, and
that's a great tip.
Figure it out at the bait barge when they're loading bait without hooking the guy behind you.
All right,
remember, when you're casting a jig,
look behind you.
Stare at your jig the whole time. You won't miss the water, I promise you. Just stare at that thing the whole time. Your deckhand will probably tip you for not hooking them.
That's another great tip. Don't take your eyes off the jig. Just follow it all the way, right?
Yep.
And another great thing about iron fishing is you get them on heavy lines, so that's not an issue either. That's really good. So you said, I think it's a great tip. Go to a pond or at the bait receiver. So what are you looking for the jig to do and not do? What do you
see that swirly pattern, if you start casting in its whirly bird and slow down, it'll probably, they're built like a scoop, like if you look at your cereal spoon, you cut the handle off that thing, the jig kind of mimics that. You guys that are fishing the little Cleos or what are those little trout lures that resemble them, the Castmasters.
Oh yeah,
it's all the same concept. If you're casting your Castmaster out there, you're not catching a trout. Because you're probably winding it too freaking fast, or you're looking at your phone and not winding fast enough. But it's all about rate of speed. So get out, and it's time on the water. That's how you see a lot of these guys that are out fishing with you that have holes in their deck boots that they put the time in. They know how to fish a jig only because they went to the park, they went to the beach, they went somewhere to watch that action. There are some jigs that just don't swim. Don't know why, and maybe it just doesn't feel like being a jig, but that's how you pick a jig. Grab any old jig off the wall, cast it in the water, and stick to certain color patterns. You couldn't catch a yo-yo fish in 2017 unless it was orange, but I haven't used an orange jig since. So you gotta adapt. But blues and whites, greens and whites, yellows and whites, and then the bird shit. I mean, you only need those, and all the manufacturers make them in that same color.
Yeah.
So you want to see the jig doing what, according to you two guys? You want to see it kind of like swimming like that kind of an action, or what?
I noticed they kind of have more of like an erratic side-to-side motion,
it's like
I guess you
dart side
erratic,
to side,
not erotic. Just calm down.
I got those things over there, don't worry.
So you want it to kind of... Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm worried about that, actually.
It's hard to explain. I don't know how to explain it, but more of an erratic, like, side-to-side.
All right, so if I come out on the Amigo and I say, Mark, hey, I'm going to throw this jig out, watch this, will you look at it and say, yeah, that's how you want it to swim?
I could tell. I'm not very good at explaining stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. All right, let's move to white sea bass, okay?
All right.
When do we catch sea bass on board the Amigo and the Freedom and the Pursuit? When's that going to happen?
Last year, late June. July was good.
Yeah, a lot of people think of June and July as like almost like offshore, but those are your best months for sea bass, I think.
Book your charters now for June and July if you haven't booked them yet.
Yeah, I think July 10th for us in the Freedom, that was my first day I worked over there, and we had 60 white sea bass and 15 yellows.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what grade of fish are we talking about on sea bass?
The standard size sea bass that year was like 15 to 20 pounds. But there was like, I think Blair, one of the deckhands of the Freedom, he went on the Amigo, and he had like a 50 pounder or something.
Yeah.
There's a few big ones someone ran at Nick this year.
Yeah, okay. So where do you fish for white sea bass?
Just depends.
Okay.
Like I know in the past, before I was fishing, my dad would always tell me that Catalina used to be great for fishing sea bass.
Yeah, yeah.
They used to catch huge numbers of sea bass there, way more than you catch now. Santa Barbara used to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally we'll fish Santa Barbara for sea bass. San Nick's been pretty good. It just depends. They're like anything, they move around.
Yeah, and they're following what? The bait and the water temps and all that stuff?
Squid, water temps. There's a lot of
usually
factors.
on squid beds for the most part in the early mornings, which is a lot of fun.
I know.
And then you go fish those beaches like Catalina.
Mm-hmm.
You know those more than I do, but...
And people sometimes don't believe that they actually are a pelagic fish. They move. Just like a tuna, just like a
Big
yellowtail.
time, right?
Just like a Dorado.
Yeah. So you're a little bit of a student of these kinds of things, you guys, right? Huh? I mean, they're pelagic fish.
Yeah, exactly.
There were times I've never seen it, but where they see them at mid-channel, just below the surface, a whole giant school of sea bass, as you say, being pelagic, moving around.
Because like I know when the Tornado caught some out in the Cortez, like those usually don't live out there. That's obviously a school that might have just migrated out there. Yeah,
I was talking to Candy about that one. Candy Steve are on the Tornado and the Freedom and the handful of other boats are bent on full speed bluefin.
And then they've got
the whole boat folded on sea bass just within 100 yards of them is freaking cool.
Yeah.
Same bait, same everything, nothing changed. They just happened to be right place, right time. I don't know if they caught bluefin that day. I think they just got like 3 limits of...
It's weird how the ocean works.
It's pretty badass.
White
Middle of nowhere,
bass.
by the way. We're talking about Tanner Cortez as far as the place that we're going fishing.
Yeah.
They are such a great species. They're big. They're pretty easy to catch. In some, but they're strong. They're big fish.
What's that?
White sea bass. Yeah, but
You always get a trophy out of them.
yeah, exactly, man. You get to hold up a big fish, and little known fact about white sea bass fishing, and yours truly. My son Philip was born at Torrance Memorial Hospital while I was fishing for white sea bass. Yes, that was a big mistake. Let me tell you, don't do that.
Having the kid or fishing?
He's not-
He's not here to defend himself.
yeah. Now that you mention it, Mike, let me think about that.
Don't kick my
you
ass.
don't have a quarter that I can flip. And,
No, I don't.
just kidding. So, best way to catch white sea. One of the best ways to catch white sea bass. What do you like? Bait fishing?
Oh yeah,
Jig fishing?
You want to use squid. There's various ways. You can fish a leadhead squid. You can fish a heavier yo-yo style jig with a single hook with a squid. Dropper loop works well.
And how do you know which is the proper method to
Just got to get out
Have a
there
lot
and
of guys
try.
fishing different things to see what they're biting best.
you want to have like a few guys on the boat rigged up with leadhead, a few guys rigged up with dropper loop, a few guys rigged up with like a jig and a squid. Kind of see what they're biting.
Yeah, and you guys, of course, you're on the water all the time, so you can base some of that on the previous day's fishing, right? They were biting on the bottom, so you know
they'll
what
bite
to do.
higher up in the water column with like a light slider and like that too.
How important is moon phase? I'm going to charter on one of the boats. I want to go white sea bass fishing in June or July. How important is looking at the moon phase to making my decision? Important or not important? You see them bite on the full, the dark? Do you see all kinds of stuff?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
To answer that question, these kids have been fishing when it's been pretty much the best fishing that it's been for quite some time. So
Yeah.
it just seemed to bite
Yeah.
when it wanted to bite. You know, it didn't matter. But paying attention to the fish counts and looking at numbers, because I'm the numbers guy, it seems like full moon kind of tapers off a little bit. It's before and after.
Uh-huh.
And you know, me and Damien are sitting here making notes because we're looking at his charters based off of freaking moon phases, and it's proven itself. It doesn't mean they're going to catch 100 more fish, but it just seems to be slightly less when it's a full moon out. And then squid fishing, the commercial squid fishing,
Oh yeah, it's
I just stay
terrible on a
home.
full moon.
You know, I've been out where we did really well commercial fishing
me too.
with squid, but more times than not, you're just like, I just want to stay home because I know it's gonna be bad, but you got to go anyways because it could be good because it was good once before. So
Yeah.
it
I
sucks.
when I do my trips on Friedman Adventures trips, I do factor in moon phase, but I've seen it bite on the dark and on the full. I try to get that week before the full.
Yeah.
Leading into the full moon, that in somewhere in there is where I want to be fishing. And I like weekdays myself because I feel
Less
like
boat traffic. Definitely.
Yeah, right?
I mean, shit. I even have a trip this week.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have a trip with actually Brandon Hayward this week fishing Catalina for 3 days.
Oh, nice.
Did you get invited? You didn't
Thanks,
get
Gary.
invited? Yeah, thanks, Gary. Wow.
Just
We're
you
gonna
or
meet you on the
what?
parking
No,
lot.
me and an old friend.
Excellent. That ought to be fun. Are you going to
Yeah.
give us a report on that?
Yeah, I will.
You're a captain now. Oh, not quite yet.
Not officially.
It's Captain Gary.
Can you catch white sea bass by just dropping an iron in and bouncing it off the bottom?
Seen it done.
Yeah.
I've seen fish eat all kinds of stuff that I would not think they would.
Give me an example.
See
of
why
that.
sea bass eat a
I want to
bucktail.
hear that, Mark. Like what?
Like Rapala on a dropper loop.
Really? Oh, I
All
gotta try
kinds of
that.
funky stuff.
I gotta try
And
that.
I tell the guys, I'm like, probably not gonna catch anything on that. I'd try something else, and I turn around, they're bent. I'm like, oh.
That's a part. That's a part of my Twilight speech when I go out. I'm like, we're suggesting this tackle, but I've seen stranger things happen. So try what you feel is right. But if you're not catching, please ask the deckhand. He'll help you out. It's just Magumbo, that big Magumbo guy comes out from Alaska. Boots. It's the middle of summer. Guy's dressed up in a parka, and he's like, "I'm gonna catch a halibut tonight." And I look over at the guy and go, "Cool, good for you." He brings this big Magumbo, like that big, pink. Shit you not, that guy caught like a 40-pound halibut that night. And
Oh my god!
the most terrifying part of it is all of a sudden there's a bat. I don't know where the hell the guy has found this bat, and he's bashing this freaking halibut.
guy brought a bat?
Because he's used to beating the halibut up there
Yeah.
because they're huge. I mean, this thing's like 40 pounds. You just step on it, ain't going.
You gotta
nowhere.
love
Like,
this guy, though. I mean, he's well prepared.
I hit in the wheelhouse. I didn't. Ryan and Steve-O had him. I was like, "What are you doing? Put that thing away. You're gonna hurt somebody."
What's the weirdest thing you've seen somebody catch something on? Probably Morrison, right?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of weird shit.
Like, what can you think of something? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anything?
Probably a crankbait, like a freshwater crankbait catching fucking yellowtail and that.
Really?
Yeah.
And it doesn't bust the hook off or anything?
No, because actually the guy upgraded the split rings and the hooks,
Like
and he was catching fucking like 20-pound yellowtail on it.
Really?
Yeah.
I like this, man. We got to do some crap like that. I want to get like some really funky. Take a jig.
Oh
and
no,
just
but like
paint it some weird.
I think I'm gonna do a 10-day this year. And me and my buddy were out talking like, dude, let's get one of those big 10XD crankbaits, upgrade all the tackle on it, let's try catch a wahoo on it. Let's try it.
Yeah, right. I brought a freaking trout on an albacore trip once, and I kept it, and then I put it in the bait well, waiting for a jig strike, and I wanted to catch an albacore on a trout, which I think is illegal anyway. And some F-head took my trout and threw it overboard while I was, getting a cup of coffee or something. Damn, how many opportunities do you get to catch an albacore on a freaking rainbow trout?
Well, you keep talking about it. It might happen this year. We're going to fly line rainbow trouts this year.
Yeah.
It might be onto something.
We've been talking about albacore a lot around here at Friedman Adventures because my friend Bob Osborne is a fisheries expert. He says the La Nina, the experts are all starting to agree that that's a great possibility. As I remind all of our listeners, if the albacore show up this year, right here, man.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't show up, Bob Osborne doesn't know what the shit he's talking about, right? So, would you be stoked if Albie showed up?
That would be awesome. Last time I saw an albacore, I was like probably 13 years old.
Really?
So.
I saw like 2 when I was 10, I think, on the Ultra. We just had a blind random jig strike for 2. And yeah, that was the last time I ever saw one.
Was that in the albacore zone, or were you just?
We were fishing just kelps, and we were driving around looking for kelps. We had our trolling spread out, and we just got 2 random albacore.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, never even seen one before or after that.
How about you? Have you caught albacore?
Yeah, the grocery store.
Really? So you've never caught an albie, huh? That's cool. That's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. This kid's been hyping me up since he was 10.
Oh.
We're going to go albacore fishing. Come on, man. Let's go, Mike. Let's go deep drop something in the middle of nowhere.
What's better than albacore fishing, man? It's so
I don't
much
know. I
fun.
haven't tried it.
Oh. There was a guy named Pat Conklin. Do you guys, does that ring a bell with
My
you
dad
guys?
knows Pat.
All right, Pat. Pat used to come on the Searcher when I was like a pinhead on there, and I remember like asking him like, "Hey, how do you catch these things?" And he would sit back in the corner with 60-pound, big giant hook, and a 6-ounce torpedo sinker, and he'd drop it on the jig strike, and and I'm like, "Well, what if they don't bite the 60?" And he's like, "Then I don't catch them." And so it was really crazy, man. It was great. I would love to see those things show back up again. Those fish are spectacular. They bite great. They fight hard. Do you remember anything in terms of tackle, in terms of catching albacore? Tackle is really simple.
I was pretty young, but I had a fly line. They ate all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like anything. When they're biting, they're biting.
Choosing a good hot bait, super important.
Oh,
Getting in the water
yeah.
really fast after a jig strike, super important. I can remember, though, my brother and I, when we were on the Searcher back in 76, 77, 78, we literally started looking at we used to bring this giant tackle box when we first started, and then we started looking at each other going, dude, I think we can carry our tackle box in our front pocket. And, you had hooks
Yes, pack of hooks.
and some rubber core sinkers
Yeah.
or sliding egg sinkers, and you're in really good shape at that point, man. Worked really well. I hope that we do see that fish show up. That would be really awesome. Yeah.
The manufacturers made all the tackle to catch anything we want right now. These things are queued up on little baby baits. You got those flash jigs on the wall there. I mean, we're going to be ready. Just give us that chance.
Yeah.
All right. What are you looking forward to this year more than anything on board the Amigo, and how can we get in touch with you on the Amigo?
So I'm looking forward to just running the boat more, meeting new charter groups, kind of building a charter clientele. Make
Are
a
you
following for
nervous about
myself.
that at all?
I
or-
am, but I'm going to try my hardest and do my best.
What
That's all
are
I
you
can
nervous
do.
about? Not catching fish or
I
what?
mean, I don't care who you are. Eventually, you're going to not catch something.
Right.
But I'm going to try my best, and if I don't catch anything, then I'm just going to try harder and try my best.
Mark, look, take it from the old man here, okay? People are going to enjoy fishing with you no matter what. And so you're going to have those down periods
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah.
That happens. But I get the feeling that your fishing abilities are awesome. You're really great with people. And I know that I look forward to fishing with you when I go on the Amigo all the time.
Thanks, Phil. And if you want to book a charter, you can contact 22nd Street Landing, or I'm not sure what the number is off my head. Contact Mike's wife, Aaliyah. She manages all the bookings and charter.
She manages him too.
Yeah.
It's amigosportfishing.com. You can get all that information there, as well as through 22nd Street. You can find all those links on there.
Gary, what are you looking for? Ward 2.
I'm looking forward to
your captain, Gary. Man.
Captain Gary.
Congratulations again.
Maybe having the opportunity to run second ticket a little bit, but still just working deck on the Freedom and the Pursuit. We have a great crew this year on the Freedom. It's worked together a little bit. We're kind of just still making it last year, but this year we got it set in stone of who's working, and I'm really excited to work with those people that we have on the Freedom this year.
Who do you have? You got Tino running the boat?
Tino running the boat.
Possibly Bob.
Possibly Bob still. Scotty and Trevor's are seconds. Trevor's our main deckhand. Me, Blair, and Rod as our deckhand. So, yeah. Should be a good year.
All right, and Freedom, so do they have their own website or go to 22nd Street?
They do.
Yeah.
It's freedomfishing.com, but you can get every single one of the boats we have here, direct links at 22ndstreet.com. You're going to be talking to me, so call us at our phone number on the link that we're going to provide.
And on the Pursuit, one thing that I would like to make clear to everybody is Gus speaks fluent Spanish. So if you happen to be a Spanish speaker,
Yes.
en el Pursuit se puede pescar con Gus porque él habla español, ¿verdad? He speaks Spanish, right?
Yeah, he
Yes,
does.
Something like
Fluent
that.
Spanish, yeah.
Yeah. All right, very good. And Mike, what are you looking forward to this coming year? Are you looking? I know you're looking forward to having me around the landing more often.
Not in the slightest.
Been a
but y'all-
blessing to you, right?
I've been fortunate enough to acquire a piece of this place. These guys trust me enough, so Jeff Jessup and I acquired a portion of this place. So we're
out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So the rent just went up for you.
Good job,
I'm
man.
just looking forward
So many
to
things to celebrate.
just growing this even more than we've already have, and just changing things up. But all we're doing is modernizing, because this place is pretty sick. You know, the guys take care of the boats. I take care of getting the boats out full, and we're just going to keep doing that. You know, bringing different sorts of tackle and whatnot, and maybe do some more seminars and have you and whoever else, you know, once we go back to some sort of normalcy, you know, try to do our day at the docks again, or day at the landing, we call it here.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
It's a great event.
Jalapenos?
But exactly. So we're going to bypass Fred Hall this year, because I don't think it's going to happen, but there's going to be a moment that we're going to publicize through you, through our Instagram, through everything. And I apologize for you guys that watch my Instagram live streams with my ums. But there's a lot of information that we're going to get out to you guys, get you guys fishing, get you out fishing, catching. You know, we're trying to help you catch here, so you need to come out and pay attention to what we do here. Damien in the shop, we got Tony in the shop, we got Larry in the shop. We're going to have people in there that'll tell you what you need to do, when you need to do it, and we're going to point you in the right direction, just make things better, I guess. It's pretty good now.
To wrap this thing, well, before I wrap it up, I do have one more question. I think I have time here real quick. What did you think about that reunion with your father? And Gary, did you see it yet? Have you seen it?
I saw it, yeah.
So, Mark, first of all, what did you think about that? Because to me, I'm still fighting back the tears when I think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about 35 years ago, they rescued Desiree Rodriguez, and then the first time they got to see her again was on a Friedman Adventures podcast. It was... Well, you go ahead.
Well, yeah, my dad always told me about like kind of the story, and showed me like his plaque when I was a kid, and he'd always tell me like, oh, I've been trying to contact, like, see how she's doing, but I could never contact her, and then you put that together, and that was pretty cool. It was like a big moment for him and Paul.
The emotion of your dad and Paul was just completely off the charts.
Yeah,
it was really beautiful. Gary?
Oh, that's pretty rad, yeah. Because even my dad even told me the story of how Mark and Paul like saved that girl and how everything went down that day. So yeah, it's pretty cool to like that you got a reunion together to have them all meet again.
I was standing right there in the doorway crying like a little girl. It was great.
I heard that Aaron from the Native Son was outside and had to leave.
He had to walk out. Yeah, no, that was intense. It was beautiful. And then Mark and Paul are still holding it against me because we slid him right into that.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
I know.
All right, in conclusion, I think the future of this business with you three guys, well, you two guys.
The fate is in our hands.
I think it's really positive, really, really good. Mark, thank you so much for being here with
Phil.
us.
Thanks for having
me.
me.
A pleasure, man. Gary, congratulations once again
Thank
on
you.
your captain's license.
Thanks for
Both
having
you
me.
guys. Mike, always a pleasure, my friend. All right, and
Pleasure's
I'll remind you all, follow Friedman Adventures on Instagram, on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and click the bell. If freshwater fishing is your thing, Bass Bros, you can follow them on all those same venues. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again really soon for another edition of Friedman Adventures.